question that I want to lead with, and I know it's that I sent it out to all of you. When one of your fellow Kiwanians finds out that you're an LG and they ask the question, well, what does an LG do? What is your response going to be? And I'll just take volunteers.
This is Elaine and Clorinda, and sometimes I tell them I'm the cheerleader. I'm there to encourage them and pep them up.
I like it.
That's great.
Thank you.
I like to think that I can help them feel connected to each other and build relationships between clubs. And help them feel like they're part of the district.
Yep, cheerleader and feeling connected. You know, I've had this conversation, and I don't think it's unique to Nebraska and Iowa, but many people do not know what the district does or what the district has and the resources we have. And so I would really hope that we, as part of our cheerleading and connecting, we sell the district and that we sell our services, because all of our members pay. You pay $25 a year for the district, and you might as well get your money's worth. And sometimes people don't know what the district is or who they are or even who the governor is. Kurt, sorry. So when someone asks you, what's an LG do? We have cheerleader and a connector. What else?
What we do is we help them promote the other clubs to amongst each other so that people can see what's going on, and there might be something for them.
Very good.
Having the clubs.
What was that, Lisa? Was that somebody's not muted?
I'm not sure what that was, Don. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, there was some feedback somewhere, but you're absolutely right, Steve. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
That was Glenn trying to say something.
Well, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn, go.
Well, mine, I think, paralleled Steve's fairly closely, but I think, with being a communicator, it's relaying the message from both international and the district, and helping the clubs to get better acquainted with each other.
I think that's critical, that information. You know, I have been in Kiwanis for 20 years plus, and through the training that I've received as governor, I have learned far more about Kiwanis International than I ever thought was possible, and all of the resources and the valuable information that Kiwanis has for us to use, and we just haven't used it to the degree we need to. And so I do hope that part of that role of the LG is to help funnel that information from KI to the district to the local clubs. I think it's really critical. The second process, yeah, go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, in our breakout, we were talking about, the pride in being in Kiwanis. Kiwanis International does a great job. I'm saying this for you, Brad. No, I'm joking. If you go to the Kiwanis International website, you can really see the scope of how large this organization is and how much we do. And Steve was giving some examples about how, we want to create pride in being a Kiwanian, pride in our district. And through that, we need to promote pride in being a club member and earning that right to be a club member, rather than just, trying to fill a slot. If you feel good about what you're doing, then you're going to go and tell other people. But I still get people who don't even, if I mention Kiwanis, what's Kiwanis? So, and I think there are probably club members in all of our clubs who really don't understand exactly what Kiwanis is and what we do. So self-promotion starting at the club level is, I think, something that's really important for our lieutenant governors to promote with the clubs in their division.
As part of my training as a governor-elect, Kiwanis International is putting out monthly courses for us to review. And yes, Brett, I just watched it yesterday for June. They quoted a statistic of a study that was done recently, and I don't know the year, the timeline on it, but only 3% of the respondents could even identify what Kiwanis was. Only 3 out of 100, 3%. Not very good recognition. And
that tells me they're not getting, somehow we're not getting them connected or the information.
yeah,
And that's a
Yeah.
key part of being a lieutenant governor. It truly is.
yeah. And the other thing that you mentioned, Linda, the training that I received that I watched yesterday was, a lot of it was on communication, and more specifically social media, and the role of social media right now, and which is, quite frankly, an area I know nothing about. But boy, I'll tell you what, there's a whole bunch of resources up there, and there's some people at KI that know what they're doing, and they're just ready for our use. And my own club is just having the conversation about using social media to promote our signature event. And I just told the chair of that, go on KI and watch those videos. Get on there, because there's some good information specific to that.
May I ask Janet, she shared something that their club did regarding social media with your member.
Yeah, we talked about it, and we decided to offer a free membership to someone that could help us get our social media going, our Facebook going, some of those things. So so we actually do have someone doing that's getting a free membership this year, kind of a young person. There was a couple people that one of our members actually is on the city council and well connected. And he actually knew this gal that she's trying to, start kind of her home business. And, so this might work even to help put on her resume that she helped develop the Kiwanis. So it's a win-win. It's a win for her because she's trying to develop kind of her home business. So she'll put this on her website probably, or on her resume. And she's helping us like with our Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So it's a win-win. So I don't know, if she'll continue on, I don't know, but it was a way, I think, to help us get over a hurdle, because I don't know how to, and she set up a website for us, and, all those kind of things. So we actually have a website with our name and all those, and we're set up, and we just paid for 3 years of it. So we actually have that domain, and she did all those things, which, we figured, okay, for our club, it was well worth it, because I do not know how to do that. And believe me, our club, we had no one with that, that ability.
Nicely done, Janet. That is a true win-win. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Janet, that's a great idea. Also, I remember when I was 4 years before, I've been with KI for 7 years, but 4 years before that, I was executive director of the Downtown Indie Club. And we had in our budget from time to time to hire a photographer to get some good photos for our website and Facebook page and all that. And I went to the board. I had a young African-American guy who had been part of one of our key clubs, and he was let go and from his job. And so I worked to do a barter arrangement. So I said, we're going to give this guy a free membership, but we're going to get all these great photos in return. And believe you me, we made out like a bandit, because he did a whole heck of a lot for us. So I really applaud you for that creative thinking.
That's a great transition, Brad. It's time for you. I asked Brad to join us, and just to be a bit different, this shows my age, but some of you remember Dave Letterman. Dave always had a top 10. And so I asked, because Dave is from Indiana, I believe it. What was it? His mother was a Kiwanian as well, Brad, yep. I think he said.
Yeah.
So I asked Brad to come up with the top 10 for LGs. And so, Brad, I'm going to turn it over to you, big guy. It's all yours.
All righty. I'm gonna, whoops, I'm hitting the wrong button there. I'm gonna try to share my screen here. So hopefully I won't have an internet outage. So welcome to the top 10 list, and had a little fun with the assignment here. And yes, you're right. This is Indy's own David Letterman. And he is also a part of our Indianapolis Motor Speedway family with the as one of the sponsors for one of the crews for one of the drivers. He's been doing it for years and things like that. So, and then I included an Indianapolis top 10 list that he shared through the years, because I believe, I'm not sure that it's quite official yet, but I'm fairly certain that the 2022 convention, your convention, is going to be here in Indianapolis. And so you'll have an opportunity to come to Mecca and see the global headquarters and have some fun stuff. And so hopefully we'll be able to celebrate a little bit with that. And so, you know, just a blast from the past to see who were mentioned, both in terms of notables and celebrities and all like that. So looked like Dave liked to poke a lot of fun at himself, which I love, self-deprecating humor. And so it's sort of a blast from the past. I'm sure Donald Trump doesn't like being fourth on the list, but hey, can't always be on the top. And this is actually in loving memory of Dorothy Mengering. I got to know Dorothy I worked for our public broadcasting station for 5 years, heading up all their sponsorships, their fundraising and friend-raising. And so she actually was very much involved with public broadcasting as well. And we brought in the StoryCorps van to town, and I was able to get her to do an interview. We couldn't get Dave in at the same time, but she did a nice interview with her daughter that I believe is still part of the NPR StoryCorps archives there and everything. And she just was the sweetest lady, and she was a member of our Broad Ripple Club. And then when she remarried, I think her husband, they moved up to Carmel, and she was part of that club as well. And you'll see there in her hands there, the Home Cooking with Dave's Mom. And she published that right after she did her stint where he sent her to be sort of the roving ambassador at the Olympics. And so she was looking for something to do. And so she decided, since she was all about the pies and the cooking and everything, that she'd do the cookbook. And actually, if you read her obituary, she mentions that she did it to help with the IDD campaign for her Kiwanis club. And so the proceeds. And so when you come to the global headquarters, I want you to go into the auditorium, and you'll see on the far left-hand side, there's an honor wall of some of the people who donated to make that addition happen. And Dorothy Mengering is right on there. It doesn't say Dave's mom, but in fact, as I was looking some stuff up the other evening working on this, I found out that apparently he had the top 10 list earlier on another network. And so they were trying to tell him he couldn't bring it with him. And so he said, well, maybe I'll have to start calling my mom Dorothy instead of Dave's mom so I can protect the rights. But he eventually was able to keep his top 10 list going. So without further ado, drum roll, here we'll do my top 10 and all. So I had the great segue because like minds, you know, sort of think alike. And so it already was mentioned, I think Norma or someone mentioned that serving as the chief cheerleader for our clubs. And then I will also add our service leadership programs. And so it's a great way. I guess you're also probably cheerleader for the Nebraska-Iowa Foundation, as well as the Kiwanis Children's Fund and all those types of things. So I think that there's nothing more that you can do. I think, you know, the one thing I wanted to mention in tandem with this comment is just the fact that showing up is 95% of the battle. If you show up time and time again, even if they don't invite you, you show up, eventually you're going to wear them down and they're going to embrace you and you'll become more of a fixture. And once you start making those club visits, then they will perhaps be more apt to invite you or at least entertain the idea of you coming to one of their club board meetings. Number 9, team up, and I underline up because they're uplifting with your CKI and Key Club Lieutenant Governor counterparts. So I know that in most districts, at least here in Indiana, our geographical boundaries don't exactly align, but I think that Lisa can help you find the lieutenant governors for Key Club and CKI if they have them. If not, go to their governor and get them involved as much as possible. They bring a lot of enthusiasm, particularly to a division council meeting or to a service project, those types of things. And so at least in my case, my year as lieutenant governor, I considered myself as one of 3 lieutenant governors for my division. And while I sort of set the agenda and everything, I ran it past my Key Club and CKI counterparts for their input. And then I tried to focus on a different service leadership program for each of my division council meetings so we could really get around and let people know the reason why we're in Kiwanis and how hopeful and encouraged we are with future generations of leaders. You know, I've been making some presentations and, you know, I'm almost ready to go to the board and say we need to change our motto. You know, I think serving the children of the world is now a little lame. We're not just serving, we are nurturing, we're shaping future generations of leaders. To me, that's a lot more powerful than just merely serving them. And that's the opportunity that we have to really work with them. Number 8, you're going to be the architect of a membership growth plan in your division. So hopefully you'll be able to use this wonderful Zoom technology to get with your club presidents and your club membership committee chairs and devise a plan. Perhaps at the beginning of the year, get an idea as to what they think they might be able to do in terms of adding new members through the year. Or perhaps take a look at our 5-year membership trends report and find out what the attrition has been. And I know when I was with the downtown club, I really wanted to have net positive membership growth. And I only accomplished that 1 of the 4 years. And that's because I brought my wife on as a member. That was her birthday gift, but she had been playing piano for us for each of our meetings for the patriotic song, because before that we paid a woman $40 to come down to play one song. And I said I could save some money because my wife used to be a music teacher. So, but at any rate, you'll want to work with them and just hold them accountable, their feet to the fire, and keep working with them to come up with different angles to perhaps achieve that membership growth. And it really is sort of taking a look at, when I was with the downtown group, I kept 2 of those Post-it pads in my office. And I kept one which had all of the people who moved away, passed away, whatever, left Kiwanis, maybe just for a sabbatical. And then I kept a list of those that I was able to bring on as new members. And it seemed like every year it was pretty much neck and neck between the 2. And so I think clubs really need to look at, you know, how do we keep filling the funnel and bringing in some new ideas and new perspectives and everything. Number 7 is organizing club strengthening and new club opening efforts. So we're doing a whole lot better job recently. We've had a couple of our membership committee last year at the KI level actually developed several subcommittees under arts leadership. And I've been participating in 2 of those on both club strengthening and new club opening. On the new club opening front, we've been posting, and you can find it on the website, as Linda gave that great promo for single purpose or single focus clubs. So we've got clubs now that are just solely working on literacy, or perhaps they're LGBTQ allies, or we've got clubs that are geographical. I think Jody mentioned that she's one of the 25 Kiwanians who care. So that's more of a philanthropy oriented club. And the most recent one, which I think really dovetails nicely into Nebraska-Iowa with your passion for food insecurities and for food sustenance. And so we actually brought Jody Melcher onto a call last week to pick her brain and get some more ideas. And it was just amazing to hear how many different aspects our clubs are really involved with and engaged in helping on those efforts. So I would encourage you to look at that. On the club strengthening area, we actually came up with a whole new training program to certify club coaches. And so Gary Watnam, who's your division, your district membership coordinator, he can give you the names of those folks who have gone through that rigorous training and received the Good Housekeeping seal of approval to be coaching. And now with the wonderful advent of Zoom, you don't necessarily have to have somebody in the town next to you come over and be a coach. They actually could coach clubs via Zoom. It'd be a lot better if they can come in person, but we need to take and make good use of the technology that's there for us and everything. Number 6, organize division council meetings and governor visits. And I think that was Janet that maybe mentioned some frustration that her folks weren't responding well to being called to a meeting 4 times a year or whatever. And so there are a lot of different ideas. One that I just shared with my little subgroup in the breakout room was the fact that you can, I encourage you to set up those meetings at the first of the year or even before the first of the year and give them your calendar. So I happened to pick my year that I wanted to have one division council meeting on January 21st. Anybody know why? Surely the people in my breakout room know.
Anniversary.
Yes, it's our birthday, so it was an opportunity. These chubby cheeks like cupcakes, and so it was an opportunity to celebrate and sort of get out of winter doldrums and everything. The next one I picked was April 1st. You think it's because I'm an April Fool?
No.
No. Norma knows why.
It was mid-year point.
Yes, that's the exact smack middle of our administrative years. So what you want to do is say, do a gut check. How are we doing against our goals? And unfortunately, a lot of times we're not quite there yet. I say that Kiwanians by and large are clutch performers. They work best under adversity and at the last moment. And so you want to keep on top of that and get a pledge at that midpoint year to ask people to redouble their efforts and everything. The third that I would do would be the about 12 weeks out from September 30th. I think in my case, it was like July 7th or 9th. And again, that clutch performer, I just want to know what more do we need to pour on. You know, maybe somebody's been working on a club opening and they're not quite to 15, and how could we pull together and help them make that happen? And then the last one I did was actually in October, because it's James Whitcomb Riley's birthday on October 7th, and that's our patron saint of our children's hospital. That is our district's project. So you might pick some other date to kick off the year there in October to get the juices going. So I also added here, consider the division-wide membership drive and service project. So I know, I believe it's there. Is it in the Des Moines area where there are a couple of, or yeah, I think it's Des Moines, where they have 2 divisions that have met at like a kitchen and bath shop. They own it, and they've done membership drives for all the clubs in those 2 divisions come together. They've done that for several years. So that's one idea of a division-wide membership drive if you're close enough in proximity. And then the other is a service project. And I just sort of fell into it this last year. When I was lieutenant governor, one of my 8 clubs is the Robin Run Golden K Club. And guess what? They were in shutdown mode, lockdown mode most of the year. And so in the summer, I said my club always had done for our K kids cards of encouragement. And I got to thinking we weren't doing the K Kids program. They were on ice for the year. And so I said, hey, would the other 7 clubs be able to start pummeling our members at Robin Run in the retirement center with cards of encouragement? And what I hadn't thought about was the fact that they had some time on their hands, and they started sending us thank you notes for the cards that we sent them. And so now we have a very robust pen pal program in our division, which I think has really helped to really do things to the point where my club asked whether we could get our lawn chairs and go to Robin Run in August and have an inter-club meeting with them outdoors from the facility and all. So those things can be done. Just wanted to plant some seeds for you there. Number 5, communicate often with club leaders. And I mentioned in our little breakout group that, you know, I think Norma had a great plan for doing a newsletter every month. I told her that I could probably dig out from the year that Polly Lott was president. We came up with messaging that was pretty evergreen for every month of the Kiwanis year. And so I could probably provide that with you. You could pre-populate your email messages with some of those standard things about working on retention or membership, and then just be ready the first week of the month to plug in the actual numbers and the kudos for those that are growing their membership base or doing awesome service projects, that type of thing. So you could make life a lot easier for yourself. And recognition out the wazoo is what I encourage there. Part of that cheerleader thing. Number 4 is cultivate and strengthen leadership development. Our board added that, the old I plan that Jane Erickson was really the architect for several years ago has morphed into a strategic plan. And they've added a 5th component about 2 years ago. The board realized that we really are having challenges with getting people to move up the leader ladder. I know that Kurt's been working his butt off to get lieutenant governors and district administrators squared away, and I'm guessing Linda will be working on that in fairly short order for her year. And so we want to do that. That's really the reason why we introduced Amplify to a large extent. Not that it's really training with Kiwanis 101 materials, but it's sort of getting people to think more about their leadership potential. And we actually see that as an opportunity perhaps next year to offer that to people that are not part of the K family as a means to perhaps get people interested in coming to Kiwanis for Amplify and then coming over to becoming members and everything. So you'll also want to do your part. You should have there at the district level your leadership development coordinator. So you should be working with them to see whether all the officers that I'm sure every club in your division have reported by June 1st. I'm sure they're all in there already, but we now want to get all those folks trained. So CLE training, I'm sure there'll be some that'll be in person in different far-flung corners of the district, and then also some that will be offered via Zoom. So you'll want to get that calendar from Lisa, and also work on succession planning. One tip there for me was the fact that I always keep a slip of paper and a pen in my pocket. And as I make my club visits, whether it's by Zoom or in person, I write down, quite often I will go into the meeting space in person and I will not wear my lieutenant governor name badge because I want to be a mystery shopper. I want to see which people come up to me unaided and welcome me and ask what I'm doing there and everything. And then I'll put on my badge and become official and everything. And so those people that just on their own are outgoing, that are results driven and just have that passion for Kiwanis, like resonates with all of you, that really is something that I want to tap into and think about those people for moving up the leader ladder. Make club and board meeting visits. Obviously you've got, so right now you'll probably be wanting to partner with the current lieutenant governor and work out a schedule where they perhaps could introduce you to the club, go to a couple of club meetings or go to participate in a service project or one of their fundraisers. You'll earn even better credibility. And then at that point, either they will invite you or you invite yourself to go to a club board meeting because you see a totally different complexion of the club when you get into the inner workings and the numbers and those types of things. You'll also want to encourage, as part of this, interclubbing. I used to wonder, we had a guy, Joe Marbaugh, who was the internet king or interclub king here in the Indiana district, and he was a member of my downtown club. And I could not understand why he was so wound up and was almost wounded if he didn't win the prize for most interclubs on a given year. And he just passed away, rest in peace, but he was a great guy. But I've now realized that that really is the key to the leadership ladder, as well as just growing Kiwanis involvement and becoming those dedicated lifelong Kiwanians. If you can get people to not only attend their club meetings, but then go to an interclub, then they're going to get to know somebody outside their own little club. And they're going to feel more comfortable than perhaps going to a district convention or to a mid-year conference or an education summit. that type of thing. And then once we get them to the district level, I believe that that's when you get a little, you whet your appetite to perhaps, as Linda mentioned, wanting to get to know a little bit more about the global aspect of our organization. And so you might go to Salt Lake City for the conference, or you might go next year to Indianapolis for the international convention. So I really think that, you know, the thigh bone's connected to the knee bone or hip bone or whatever it is. So you'll want to encourage all of that. Number two, I'm getting down to my top two here, and reinforce the need for accountability. And I've had some great generative discussions these last few years. In fact, 3 years ago, the governor of Rocky Mountain District, we actually fired, or I guess we allowed them to resign, a lieutenant governor that was not doing their job and everything. I've heard of two people down in the Georgia district that, or maybe it's Carolinas, that they're doing the same sort of thing. And I don't really want to encourage that we're going to come down that hard, because we all sometimes have life challenges that get in the way of doing the job that we'd love to be able to do. But we've got to, even though this is a volunteer-led organization and volunteers have other nonprofits that they're helping in their community, and they've got hobbies and family obligations and those sorts of things to worry about, we do need to impress upon them accountability. And then probably the biggest revelation to me as lieutenant governor, and I'm a little dense at times, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but it hit me: strive for consistency. I think one of the biggest problems is that at every level of the organization, we don't strive for consistency. We've got to get to the point of where Don or Linda don't have to beg, grovel, cajole, hornswoggle someone into being a lieutenant governor. We need to be starting to go to people and say, hey, you, Mr. Club President, hey, you, the membership committee chair, you did a bang up job this year. You brought in 8 new members and all, and that qualifies you to become a lieutenant governor, which is the best damn job in all of Kiwanis. We have got to flip the script here and get people fired up about doing a great job, and then we'll have consistency. What happens in many districts, I can take a look at my own district, is you'll have a gung-ho governor one year and you'll have a dud the next. And then the next person has to try to bring it back to life and resuscitate it. And it happens at the lieutenant governor level. You know, I had the person before me didn't do any division council meetings, and the woman who succeeded me is an inner city school teacher, and she hasn't done any. And so I worry about that. And, you know, I wondered why people didn't want to show up. You know, my first month on the job as lieutenant governor, I sent out that newsletter that Norma was talking about. And I got back a response from one of the 8 clubs, not even my own damn club. They didn't even care about me. They didn't respond at all. And then I took a look after that first quarter in January, and I looked at the reports of how many of my clubs were submitting monthly reports. 1 out of 8, the same one that responded, had done all 3 months. One of them had done 1 month and everything. And we've got to get past this malaise with doing our jobs, and we've got to, you know, run a tighter ship and have better expectations of ourselves and one another. So what I really would encourage you to do is to really get to know those lieutenant governors in divisions that geographically butt up right against your division and everything, and pass the sugar back and forth. And if you have a rough patch with some family obligations, health concerns, or you need to take a little sabbatical, maybe they can jump in, or perhaps you're close enough where you could have a joint division council meeting. Whenever I do my Indy Metro one, I always invite all the clubs from the Capital Division, and I bring that lieutenant governor up to speed with what the plan is and make it look as though she has done the same amount of work into the division council meeting, because I know they won't do it otherwise. And to me, it just adds to the enthusiasm if we add more people that are in the same geographical area. So again, I cannot hammer home enough the need for more consistency. And I hope that you all will find people to succeed you that are every bit as energetic and passionate about kids. I quite often put in my remarks, you know, we take it for granted that we get to work with kids. That is a privilege. And we have got to get to that point where we really realize that we're privileged to be able to do it. We're the only organization that really has that laser beam focus on children and youth and development. We're the only one that has the child protection guidelines. We're the only one that has worked through the years to embed our programs into the schools directly, and that we get to work with them and everything. So that is a privilege, and we shouldn't squander it, because if we squander it, we're not going to be laying the groundwork for future growth in years to come, and we want to keep that going. And though I have a bonus, you got to have some fun all the way along and everything. And so I think a lot of your enthusiasm as the chief cheerleaders is going to set the tone for a great year. And you want to make it something fun. You don't want to say, oh gosh, I've got to get on this call on the division council meeting, or I have to get this report in. So have some fun, or make it a contest, you know, who's got their secretary reports in this month or whatever, and give them a gold star or give them something fun. One of the things I'm doing in my club as membership chair, I just brought in one new member 2 months ago, and I've got 4 more coming in by October. And so I'm gonna take an idea that I got from Barb Thompson in one of the chambers, and instead of doing our usual boring orientation program where we sit around and jaw on too long about our favorite service projects and bore the poor new members, I'm going to stuff them in a car, and we're going to go on a joyride around town, and I'm going to drive them by the Pike Township where we do the food pantry, and over to the Crooked Creek food pantry where we do work, and down to Babe's Warehouse where we package diapers for mothers and babies who couldn't afford them. And we're going to take them to our little free library there on the parking lot of the global headquarters that you'll get to see next year, and all those type of fun things. To me, that will bring it alive and make it a lot more relevant and everything. And so that's a wrap on my top 10 list. And I just appreciate your dedication and passion. And as I have coined my own little phrase, I call it pure Kiwanis goodness. And what I hear from you whenever I get the opportunity and am blessed to be with you, I get encouraged, I get excited. I've got the goosebumps on the back of my neck just hearing the stories of all the wonderful things that's happening in the Nebraska-Iowa district and all. And so thanks for letting me present. I'll send it back to you.
Oh, Brad, that was wonderful. And you know what? As a former high school English teacher back in the dark ages, the Kurt Vonnegut Museum is in Indiana.
Righto.
You know, probably half of us don't even know who Kurt Vonnegut was, but one of the first books I taught was Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut.
Yeah.
Way back when, 1973. Boy, I can't wait to go back and look at the rest of that list. That was fun.
And
wow.
For those of you with kiddos or grandkids, bring them along. We have the world's largest children's museum. It's fabulous. And they just added a couple years ago a whole sports park out in alongside of the museum. So you'll be able to shoot some baskets with Reggie Miller and be able to be with the Peyton Manning and the Colts and go to the Speedway and golf and tennis. And so there's just a lot of fun to be had. So I encourage you to come and check it out.
Thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate that. We're going to process what Brad talked about in our next breakout session. But right now I build in a break. My coffee is cold, and I'm going to go warm it up. And so let's take a break, Lisa, because we're just a couple minutes behind. We'll reconvene at 10:40. We'll just push it back 5 minutes. But while you're gone, I want you to think about something. And your think about is, I'm still curious as an LG about ... As an LG, I'm still curious about, and then we will process that as we move into the next session of our training. So I'll see you at 10:40.
Hey, Brad, I need to send you a picture of the phone booth from downtown Wahoo, because if you remember, Wahoo was in the battle to be the home office of the top 10. And where we said that was at the old telephone booths. Right in downtown, that telephone booth is still there. I will get a picture of that and send that.
That is hilarious. I love it.
Don't have too many phone booths anymore.
Speaking of phone booths, I saw one on Facebook the other day. It showed, or the title of the picture was Children Investigating Ancient Ruins. And it shows two kids standing there staring at a phone booth.
Yeah, yeah. There was one day, we still have one of the convenience stores in town actually has a payphone outside. And I stopped for gas one day and I'm like, what the heck is that guy? He's actually using the payphone? Really? It was like, where did that come from?
Or it's 10:40. So I'd like to get started again. Thank you all for sticking around. I appreciate it. I know some of you haven't returned, but my coffee is now hot again and I'm ready to roll. I purposely build in all of the content in kind of the middle here. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about some of the Kiwanis International and district expectations and strategic plans, and then we'll move to our final breakout session to process both what Brad had talked about and what I talked about. Brad, I really appreciate the top 10. I have fond memories, and there are certainly so many thoughts there that I have. And Lisa, I'd forgotten about Wahoo being the hometown, the main home office. I'd forgotten about that. I too would like to see a picture of that phone booth. That's great. That's a great part of the story. So I do thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can share my screen now because I do have a little PowerPoint. So am I ready to go, Lisa? Can I do this now?
Share away, Don. You should be able to.
Lisa taught me the other day how to do this. So let's see if I'm a good learner. So I need to get rid of that just a second. There we go. How's that? Everybody got something to see?
Good, Don.
Yay, yay, yay. I did it. Well, you know, after I put this on there, I apologize for that picture. I don't know why I put my own picture up there. You can all see me quite well enough. But I did want this slide because my theme for the year is keeping the habit. And I need to explain that a little bit. Somewhere in my past, someone said, and I think the quote was specifically, to be a good Kiwanian, you have to keep in the habit. And I have a good example of that. I have an excellent member of our club who is a CPA, and he said, you know, during tax season, I'm not going to attend any meetings. He said, I'm just so busy that I'm not going to attend. And I thought that sounded quite logical at the time. Well, over about a 5-year period, he got out of the habit of attending Kiwanis. And even though he's still a member and still participates with our service projects, he does not attend the meetings because he did not keep the habit. And so as we moved into the pandemic, I kept saying, we've got to really keep the habit of Kiwanis, keep the habit of serving, giving, sharing. We've got to keep the habit, keeping the habit, keeping the habit. What are we going to do to keep the habit? Well, it just logically morphed into my theme for this year. And so as LGs, how do we help our clubs keep the habit of Kiwanis and all of the good work that we have done? And I loved your comment, Brad, about, you know, we have a laser focus on youth, and it's a privilege. And it isn't just kids, it's youth, it's young adults, it's people. And we have that laser focus. And I tell everybody I talk to that we're the only service club that has that singular focus. And it is so incredibly important for us. And so as we move forward, we need to keep the habit. As some of you know, I've been in the planning business professionally, and I've had this ongoing mantra that I've used for decades, and that is, if you know where you're going, you tend to get there. Duh. You know, if I'm going to Denver, it helps if I go west. Now, I've always asked the question, you know, can I go east to get to Denver? Yes, I can, but it's not very convenient. It's going to take me a long time and a couple of boats. But if you know where you're going, you tend to get there. And the second part of that corollary is if people in your clubs know where you're going, they tend to help. And so it's important for us to make sure we involve everybody in the conversation.
Starbucks.
Where are we going and how we're going to get there and what are we going to do? It's such a critical component, and this is the foundation of all the discussions that I have. Let's talk about where we're going, and then hopefully get everybody involved. There's an old axiom that I don't know where it came from, and it goes like this: I shot an arrow into the sky, and where it fell to earth was my target. No, that's not how we want to do it. We want to live life by design and not by chance. And so what is it that we want to do and where are we going? Well, Peter Mancuso, who will be the president of Kiwanis International when we are lieutenant governors and I am governor, these are his priorities based upon the Kiwanis International strategic plan. And yeah, we've seen these before, but these are the areas that Peter feels real strongly about. And I just simply highlighted the main themes: improve the club experience. You know, we need to maintain all of our members. And my member who fell out of the habit, apparently the experience was not stronger than staying home. And so we need to increase that experience and make our clubs, both our service and our meetings, much more exciting. We have to increase membership, and if we let Brad talk long enough, he would tell you that we don't need to increase membership. We need to increase hands for service. We need more people, more hands for service. My own home club wants to do more service projects, but they also recognize we do not have the capacity right now. We need more hands for service. And so through club opening, club strengthening, and member retention, Peter is really going to be talking to us about increasing that membership. Our youth service programs. I jokingly say, if you want to increase attendance at a meeting, invite your SLP members. Happens in my home club. Every time we invite our SLPs and specifically our Key Club members to our meeting, our membership attendance goes up. Because guess what? Kiwanis like kids. They like young adults. And our SLP members are really quite phenomenal. And I really like, Brad, your emphasis on getting to know the other lieutenant governors in our SLPs. We have our new district governor for Key Club is just one dynamic young woman. And we need to get together and spend time with her. And as governor, I hope to co-partner with her on some activities because she's really a lot better than I am. She's good. And so we need to find our lieutenant governors. And if that's an issue, let me know or Lisa know, and we'll help you get in touch with them. They have in the Nebraska-Iowa district, I think there are 5, maybe lieutenant governors. I don't remember the exact number, but we'll get you in touch. The training opportunities, Brad has alluded to that as well in his top 10. We need to get our succession planning in gear, and we need to have training our leaders to help us move our clubs forward. And that's going to be one of our district's major focus areas. And we have already been working on it this year, and we'll continue to do that. And then finally, Peter's last one, specifically to the children's funds. We need to support our foundations because the foundations help do lots of good work. And Jody Melcher, who's the chair of our children's foundation for the district, pointed out to us last night of all the good things that have happened internationally, happened nationally, and happened, happened locally as a result of monies that go to the foundation. And that's just one thing that we need to always be aware of as we continue our discussions. So these are Peter's and Kiwanis International's priorities for next year. Let's look at our district goals. As I mentioned in my small group, the Nebraska-Iowa district has an updated strategic plan that was written in December of 2020. And so it goes through 2022 and it's very specific. And you can see that in our strategic plan, we have action steps and key indicators to go along with each of these 4 major district goals. Build and strengthen local clubs is another one, and you can see how these align to Kiwanis International, and that was not by accident. We certainly wanted to stay in alignment with that. We want to increase meaningful service projects. We have, and Brad likes to tell stories about clubs that have been doing the same thing for 40 years and doing them well. But sometimes we may need to add, and we need to push ourselves into a different kind of service project. And perhaps maybe we can sunset some things. In my old planning days, I had a colleague a cohort who whenever he worked with an organization and they wrote a new strategic goal, he asked them to identify one thing they would throw out in their organization to make room for the new goal. And that's the hardest thing for organizations to do, is to get rid of something. We generally don't do that very well. And so as we look at our service projects, sometimes maybe we have to get some new ones, and maybe we sunset some other ones to make room, because quite frankly, we do not always have the capacity and enough hands to get it done. Leadership capacity is an important one. I know that we have 27 individuals in our Nebraska-Iowa district that took the Amplify leadership program that was put together by Kiwanis International. We're going to celebrate those 27 individuals at our district convention in August. On Friday, we're going to have a special celebration, and then we also will have a breakout session at our August conference in how to apply those skills to Kiwanis. And so we think it's really important to continue to build the leadership capacity of our districts. And Lieutenant Governors, you are key links in that process. We also want to help our clubs move from the current pandemic view of clubs to a new vision. What do we want our clubs to look like in the next year, 2 years? I'm an advocate of keeping things fairly close. I don't really go for long-term, short-term planning because the goals themselves designate how long they are. But right now we're looking at a year down the road. What do we want to look like next year as we move out of pandemic into a new situation? And for many clubs, it's going to be a hybrid. It's going to be Zooming as well as in person, and that's okay. Brad mentioned in his discussions about e-clubs. By the way, Brad, I am also a charter member of the 25 Plus Philanthropy
Wonderful.
Club. I got in just on the tail end of that one, so I just barely got in, just barely. They let me in. So, but there are all kinds of e-clubs. But we have clubs in our Nebraska-Iowa district that don't physically meet, but meet only through Facebook and through the social media. And so we have to look at different ways to move forward in our processes. So these are our district goals. These are our district focus, and these are going to be my focus. As I indicated, it's my job to implement what the Board of Trustees has set out. And just as an FYI for the Lieutenant Governors, one of the things that I will do in my year as governor is that I will help facilitate a new strategic plan that'll move us into up to maybe 2027, something like that, a 5-year plan, so that we can move beyond 22 into the next generation, because we always have to be looking ahead, because if we know where we're going, we tend to get there. And we will be involving lots of people. I have some other thoughts about how we involve the entire membership of the Nebraska-Iowa district in this planning process, which is a little daunting to think about. But if people know where they're going, they tend to help. So, being just a bit more specific as we move ahead, who's our current leadership? And in case you have forgotten, there's our governor, Governor Kurt, and then all of the rest of our group. And I always have found the map, and I thank Lisa for putting this together for me. This is our current region. This is the Nebraska-Iowa district. And we go out to the Panhandle on the west, and over just short of the Mississippi River Basin on the east. And so these are our Board of Trustees, and these are our various regions. And you can see within those each of the divisions then that we're attempting to fill. There's some good news and some bad news on this slide. First, the good news is we have quite a number of people who have volunteered to be lieutenant governors. And I thank you so much. And I know that many of you have done this more than once, and I really appreciate this. But I also want you to note that there are some vacancies, and those vacancies concern me very, very much. They're not receiving, those local clubs in those divisions are not receiving the support that they deserve, that they need. And I think that it's critical as we move the whole vision of Kiwanis forward. I am not done in my search. I will continue working with people. I have been asking and will continue to ask for assistance from everyone to help fill these, because I think it's really critical that we have a complete team to move us forward. And if any of you have colleagues in those vacant divisions who you think might be a good lieutenant governor, please forward their name to me. I will be happy to contact them directly. It's not a problem. So now specific to my expectations of lieutenant governors, and there's going to be no surprises here. One of the things that Brad mentioned was accountability. And this is really designed both for accountability and for management. I have put together a checklist, and I will send you a copy of this checklist. It's a document that is also a logging document, and it'll allow you to log the activities that you've done for each of these. And I'm going to ask that you submit those to me on a quarterly basis, and I'll go into more detail later in our trainings about that. But I wanted to end our discussion this morning with my own personal expectations for LGs as we move from now into October 1st and after October 1st. The first one is that I would like you before October 1st to meet with the current lieutenant governor. And the current lieutenant governors are listed in our leadership directory, which you can find on our website, and you can get all of that contact information from there. But it was helpful when I was lieutenant governor to meet with them. I got a lot of insight into the clubs that we serve, as well as to the challenges and the easy parts of being a lieutenant governor. Probably one of the most important things, and in my own career, I ran across a quote, and I cannot give you the citation who said it, but it's one of my favorite quotes, and it goes like this: relationships is all there is. And as an old English teacher, I first was arguing about the grammar in that statement, but it's irrelevant, because relationships are foundational to all that we do. And as lieutenant governors, you can begin now establishing relationships with your division clubs, calls, emails, notes, any way possible, interclubs, any way possible to attend to those and begin to establish those relationships. Once we begin after October 1st, and even I even took a couple of club visits with the current lieutenant governor before even taking over, just to kind of get in the habit. But I'm looking at a suggested 3 club visits for the year, and those club visits may not always be in person. Sometimes it doesn't work to get to all 3 of them. But they can be anything from officer installations to service projects to division council meetings, any variety of ways. But become visible, and via Zoom, it certainly makes it easier for us, although I do encourage in person when we have that opportunity. But those club visits are really critical. You have to make, in order to do that, you have to make your club contacts, and a monthly phone call or a monthly newsletter. All of those serve as club contacts, just to let them know that you're out there. And it doesn't always have to be anything big. A thank you note or congratulatory note for a service project goes a long ways. Other expectations, and we've mentioned this earlier, is to share information. Kiwanis International has a ton of things that come down to us on a regular basis, and you will be inundated with all kinds of emails from both Kiwanis International and from the district and from me. But that information needs to go as well through the division council meetings, to the local clubs. Sharing information is a critical component. As LGs, we would like you to promote and participate in all of the district activities, ranging from our conferences and our leadership activities to the various trainings. We would hope that you would help promote those. These are even the SLP district conventions, the SLP activities, Key Leader, Camp OK, the variety of things that go on in the district. we would hope that you are cheerleaders for those activities from the district level. Mentoring and coaching clubs. We encourage clubs to ask you questions and ask you for assistance. And we encourage you to ask them if you can help them, because you have the resources and have access to people who know. And if you don't personally know about a particular topic, contact me and I'll send you to Brad, because he knows everything. Oh, just kidding. This is a critical function for LGs, is to mentor and coach in individual clubs. I would like, of course, as governor, to come out and see you. I would be happy to come to division council meetings. I would be happy to come work. I'll dig a hole for a tree. I'm still capable of that, and I would love to come visit. And so, as lieutenant governors, I would certainly encourage you to contact me. The sooner the better, because calendars become quite full. But please let me know. I'd be happy to come out and see you. I want you also to assist your local, all of your clubs, get them to invite you to things, and so that you can go out and help visit them and help them become part of the process. And finally, this is one that's really critical, and that is to identify the LG as part of the succession planning that Brad mentioned earlier. We really need to foster and nurture leadership coming up through the system, and helping identify the LG for the next year is really important. And for some of you that may be serving once, you may want to consider serving a second year. I wish I'd have done a second year. I would have been so much better. Those of you that have done it 3 and 4 years, I do appreciate that. I did add one last one, and it goes along with Brad's final bonus on his top 10, and that is to have fun and celebrate often. You know, we as adults don't know how to celebrate very well in organizations. I just discovered that we just don't know how to do it very well. And I'm going to end with a quick story. I had worked with a community group, and they had done some strategic planning for their small community. 3 years later, they invited me back to celebrate. And when we went back, and the committee that was in charge of celebrating put together a little presentation, and they discovered that of the 10 things that they wanted to accomplish, they had accomplished 9 of the 10. And until that day, they had never realized that. And so we had a celebration, and I brought along party hats, and I asked the community members to put on the little pointy party hats. And you can imagine the first thing, they looked at each other in rather embarrassed fashion and said, really, do we have to do this? And finally, there was somebody that was kind of ornery and said, I'll put it on. And pretty soon the whole town had them on, including the banker and the county attorney. They were wearing pointy party hats. And then I gave them the little thing that you blow and it unravels. And I said, start blowing that. And they really looked at me like I was nuts, until the ornery guy in the back blew it into the ear of his neighboring woman, and the fight began. And for 5 minutes, the community had fun, and they celebrated, and we had a cake, and we ate, and it was a fun activity. And even though it was a little corny, we have to celebrate and have fun. So those are my expectations for the group. And I want to now move into our last breakout session, if we could, please. And so, Brad, Linda, I think I provided you with some questions. Lisa, if you'd send us back into our last breakout session, it's time.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yep. You want to stop the share on your screen, Don?
Uh-oh. How do I do that?
Just
stop share. If
stop
I hit the
share.
button.
Yep. Okay, hit the button. I'm gonna pause record first, and then I'll send everybody into the breakout sessions.
All right. Well, Brad, that's one of those things that I learned a long time ago. People love you if you finish early. You know? What is one thing that was discussed in your breakout that was really one of those aha moments for you? Like, yeah, I hadn't thought about that in a long time, or that's a new idea. Because I want to, again, I'm jealous. I want to hear what was discussed in your other breakout. So open it up for the full group. What's one thing that was an aha moment for you in your breakout? Glenn.
Norma asked Brad a question about leadership development, and he had a number of good ideas that, and I'm sitting there going, I used to do that at work. I did not think of transferring that to the club. So I'm going to be taking a much closer, it'll be my club, but the division, much closer examination of some different people and form a couple of committees and get them involved with it. I'm going, so Brad, that goes, oh, geez, yeah. Those activities, what you're discussing, going, yeah, and they work.
I should have had a V8.
That's good. Yeah. Anything else that was discussed in your small group that was like, aha, yeah, should have had a V8?
Brad had an excellent comeback with, if someone feels that the glass is only half full, the other one thinks it's half empty, well, guess what?
The other, it's full.
What was that? You can always be filled.
Yeah, that's right.
Refillable.
Yeah.
It's refillable.
And be grateful that you even have a friggin' cup.
Yeah, that is so.
I'm gonna remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot of discussion in our group, and I know my group's shy, so I'll speak up for them in the interest of time. But Steve Green brought up something that I think sometimes we don't think about. As Kiwanians, we do things for, their goal is to do things for kids, but there's also a lot of other service organizations that do good things with kids too. And trying to reach out to them and do projects together. It's really not about us as individuals or individual organizations, it's about doing things for kids in general. And I know Steve and he's already reached out to some with borrowing some equipment and reaching out and saying, maybe we can do some things together down the road. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen and finish just a last couple of slides in terms of next steps. By the way, we will put this PowerPoint up. I haven't talked to Lisa about where it's going to go, but we will put it someplace so that you'll have it. And let's get through that one. As we wrap up today's training, and I really appreciate those of you that have taken time to come today. I really appreciate that, and I hope it's been valuable. And I always am open for any kinds of suggestions on how to make it better. I have learned a long time ago that I don't have all the answers. In terms of next steps, I just want to encourage you, if you have not been able to complete all of the Kiwanis International training videos, please go online. I know a couple of you had some difficulty initially getting on there, and I think hopefully we got that resolved, but please finish those up. Begin thinking about next year. As you look at our training schedule, we're going to start working towards your own plan. Remember that I'm a planner, and if you know where you're going, you tend to get there, and we're going to start articulating what is it we need to be, where do we need to be going, what do we need to be doing. So begin thinking about that. I would ask you to reach out to others. Certainly all of us, Lisa and I will provide over time the list of lieutenant governors and all the contact information, but you can also contact Brad Brad is a wonderful resource, and he's been so very willing to work with all of us, and so we're quite appreciative of that. And certainly Lisa is a wealth of information, and all of us on the Board of Trustees and the officers are all willing. We're totally committed to Kiwanis, and we want you to get us all the information that you need. And finally, I just remind you that we'll see you on July 6th, because as part of this layering process, we're going to start our monthly meetings, and the next one will be in July. And I know that you have your assignment. I've given you that. I'll send it out again after today's meeting, but we will keep it at an hour. I want to make sure that we do honor your time. So here's Lisa's information. Lisa is a wealth of information and quite a dynamic administrator, and we're so happy to have her. Please feel free to reach out to her. And finally, I just thank all of you very, very much. We wish you the best as we prepare to keep the habit. And before we leave, we just have one little bit, couple more things. Lisa, you had an announcement you wanted to make.
Yes, thank you, Don. I just wanted you all to be aware that when we talked about this several times already, but the club leadership education is such an important component to keep our club leaders informed of what's going on. We have 3 sessions that are set up already with the district. All 3 of those are virtual. The first one is coming up here actually next Saturday. That's June 12th. That's from 9 to 11. July 14th. And I believe that might be a Tuesday or Thursday. It might be, or take that back. It's a Wednesday. That's from 7 to 9. And then August 23rd is a Monday, and that is also from 7 to 9. And I will be sending out emails to the current club secretaries, reminding them to report their officers, because June 1 was that date to report. We still have the majority of our clubs that have not reported. I think I told the district board last night there's only something like 50 some out of our 150 clubs that have reported. So we have a ways to go. I will be asking them to report officers and letting them know about the CLE training so we can get them signed up. I know KI has some virtual CLEs planned as well. Brad, are those dates set yet?
I don't think so. I think Meredith is going to be coming back from maternity this month, so
okay.
Hopefully those will be set up by then. If not, you could check with Lindsay Weichel. She's sort of stepping in there.
Okay. And
Congratulations to Meredith. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had a baby, little boy.
Okay. Thanks, Don, for letting me put that
Okay.
into CLE.
So thank you, everybody. Check your watches. Or do we finish early?
Check.
I want to, first of all, thanks to Brad Boyd. Thanks, Brad, you're always great. I appreciate it so much. I love the top 10. And if would you make that available for us? Because I didn't
Sure.
get to read. I didn't get to read all of the first page and all the other pieces. So I need to go back and study a couple of things about Indianapolis.
Sure.
So I appreciate that. Thanks to Governor Kurt for joining us today. Linda, Vice Governor, and Norma, Board of Trustees. I do appreciate that. And thanks to Lisa for setting all of this up and managing all of this. Any final observations or comments before we close?
You're going to kick ass this year.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say
folks.
that?
Have a good rest of the weekend, and we'll see you in July. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Yay.